All right, so we will begin shortly. We have just a few seconds. In fact,
Mhm.
thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. And this is the kickoff session of the Indian Live for Uthunga. So we're particularly very excited, this being the first session. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And it'll be our effort to bring in topics from the industrial space. We've been, as a company, living the space of industrial automation and digitalization now for a good amount of 13, 14 years. So a lot of collective wisdom in the company across various stakeholders. So bring it to you and have some very nice, informative conversations. As part of that, today we, of course, are going to chat on how OPC UA enables digitalization. And talking about conversation, I just wanted to bring to your note a very interesting conversation. I was able to see Sesame, which is the Smart Manufacturing Institute out of US, had their Smart Manufacturing Summit recently, and it was a very interesting panel there. Stefan Hoppe from OPC Foundation, Arlen Nipper, who's the MQTT co-founder from Cirrus Link, Andreas Path, and Eric Barnstead from Microsoft. And a very interesting conversation where Jonathan Weiss, who's the CTO of Sesame, takes them through a series of questions around OPC, interoperability, harmonization, and MQTT. So I would definitely recommend that you guys watch it out for just even more information and a better view of the world of connectivity and OPC. We'll share the link in the post in the comment section. You'll have to register, but I definitely recommend it. And we hope that today's session is equally good. I mean, it's going to be a short session, of course, about 30 minutes, where we want to talk about how OPC UA brings in digitalization, enables digitalization. So with that, let me introduce Praveen Singh, who's, of course, and I have the privilege of having him here with us today to talk about various aspects of OPC in the time that we have. Praveen, by the way, is an OPC veteran, an OPC classic OPC UA veteran, having worked at Metricon, then of course acquired by Honeywell quite a few years back. Instrumental in their OPC UA product line. So an out-and-out product guy, understands the standards and the use case and everything. He's also worked at PDO, so the Petroleum Development in the Sultanate of Oman, and has the hands-on, on-the-ground experience with various flavors of OPC UA, from redundancy to OPC UA servers to clients to aggregators, and so on and so forth. So Praveen really brings in the technical as well as the practical knowledge. So with that, let's get started. Thank you, Praveen.
Thank you very much, Anand.
Okay, so let me start with the obvious, Praveen. It's a question that's perhaps asked enough times,
Mhm.
queried enough times on Google search bars,
Mhm.
and there's enough amount of education out there. But if you could share with the audience,
Mhm.
what is OPC UA, and
Mhm.
not from a technical perspective, but from a
Mhm.
functional perspective, as how it enables connectivity. So if you could
Mhm.
share something on that.
Yeah. I mean, before I start anything, right? I mean, thanks for just giving such an elaborate introduction and talk about the journey. When somebody, I mean, talks about a journey, it sounds fantastic. Okay, so coming back to the question, right? See, before we get into OPC UA and what OPC UA enables, right? Let's go a bit background, right? Because the journey started 20 years back. So if you look at how OPC UA has come along, or OPC Foundation has come along, in 96, 97 time frame, there were a couple of companies. Okay, they had this, or the industry had urgent need to have a common standard communication protocol. Okay, because there were a lot of protocols there were in the market, and almost every vendor was having their own protocol support for their devices, right? And they wanted to have a common ground where all these devices can exchange data, and that need created the foundation, and they came up with the first version of standards, which were called simply OPC. Okay, and in that time, actually it was just acronym, okay, which was OLE for process control. Okay, because this was all happening on Microsoft ComDecom technology, because that was the best technology in that time. Okay, and as people know, OLE is used in Microsoft term for data exchange. So they extended the concept and said, okay, if you want to do a data exchange in the Microsoft ComDecom world or Windows world, we'll call OPC, which is OLE for process exchange. Okay. Now, now the best part. the good part is they put a lot of effort. They came up with this specification on classic or on Comdicom based in 97 to 2000 time frame. I put 2002 3 they were releasing specifications, and that became a big hit. It had a wide industry adoption, and now because it has a wide industry adoption, industry started asking for more. Okay, there were players coming from non-Windows background, there were players coming from different technology, there were players coming from different domains, okay, saying, hey, we would also like to use this technology. And that's where Foundation felt a need to go for a next series of standards. At the same time, new industry technology and challenges were coming, like cybersecurity was becoming a problem or a need, you can say, right? A new standard SOA based mechanism was coming in. So they said, okay, let us rewrite the standards. Let's come up with a new set of standards where we will not be dependent on a platform or technology, but we will have an independence. Okay, people should be able to use it on any platform. People should be able to use in different technologies. Okay, and that's how OPC UA was born. Okay, and this is a time where 2003-4 they started writing OPC UA specification. Now OPC cannot be any more only for process control, right? So they changed the OPC. Now it stands for Open Platform Communication, and OPC UA stands for a platform, okay, where the standards come together and they give them an ecosystem where people can write their own software, their own UA servers, which will help them exchange the data on any platform, on any level, okay, using different technologies, rather than having only Comdicom or Microsoft technologies. Okay, so that is OPC UA in a nutshell.
All right, thanks Praveen for sharing that brief, and with that context set, let me kind of come to a not a controversial question, but with so much buzz around OPC UA as the connectivity, oftentimes it's perhaps easy to feel, and that's perhaps a question in some form or factor in a lot of people's mind, that does it mean that my plant cannot run without OPC UA? Does it mean my MES system, my SCADA, my controllers cannot talk to each other if I don't have OPC UA support? If you could touch upon that point.
Yeah, so see, OPC Foundation, nowhere OPC Foundation or any bodies make that claim, right? That you cannot run a plant without OPC UA. So theoretically, it's possible. Okay, you can do it, but if you go practically, okay, it will be too hard. Now let's take an example, just to make it very simple. If you take an example of smartphones, like I think prior to 2000, when smartphone came in the initial days, right, USB charger was not there, USB was not a standard, and you had all kind of chargers, right? And there will be some old phones still today who are having a non-USB chargers and will still function. But all the new phones, all the new smartphones, can you imagine a smartphone without a USB support? No, right? Because that's the standard. Now, what that means, if you're coming back to OPC world, today, you will find all the products which are coming in the market has a built-in OPC UA support. Okay, no vendor, no PSC guy, no software guy will give you a product without OPC or OPC UA support. So why not use it? So practically speaking, okay, and from my 20 years of experience being behind the scene, writing the softwares, supporting the customer and being at the customer side, I have not really seen a plant or a setup where OPC was not getting used. So L0 level, L1 field instrument level, there will be a lot of protocols like Modbus, Profibus, Allen Bradley. But when it comes to L1, L2 layer, OPC is the protocol. That's where the data becomes gets converted and starts coming into the software layer. So practically, it's just too difficult. OPC is the way. Or now OPC UA is the way. OPC UA is giving you a lot more freedom in that same sense.
Correct. So just stretch taking that point forward. We hear so much about OPC UA in conjunction with smart manufacturing industry 4.0 digitalization. If you could say what role and how does OPC kind of come into picture to help those aspects, and from perhaps a little more technical angle, if you want to go to from information models that OPC UA supports, because OPC UA is of course more than protocol now. It's really a platform. Information model harmonization with OPC now even going to the plant with field level connectivity, FSD. So if you can touch upon from that perspective for the audience.
So Anand, see, this is like a topic of discussion rather than a question, a one-line question, and it's a very interesting question. Because if you look at, if you just search digitalization in Google, Okay, you will find 20 definitions from 20 different sites. Okay, everybody has defined digitalization in their own way, or digital transformation in their own way. So, but the common ground in all this definition that you see about digital transformation, or is that what they are stressing upon is use of latest technologies, use of common technologies, a common language to make data more readable, to make data more understandable. And once data become more understandable, you can make a lot more sense out of the data, right? Now, that is a very abstract or a techie way of speaking, right? Let me give a very small example for everybody to understand. Now let's take an example. I mean, let's again get off the automation and take a common example. Just I mean, as a kid, we all have been gone to hospitals, to see some of the relatives and patient and all that. Okay, and whenever you will see a guy sit on the bed, there'll be a stack of machines. The next to the guy, there'll be a stack of machines. There'll be like 10 15 machines, and somewhere the bar is going up, somewhere the bar is going down, is beeping, and you couldn't make a head and tail of that, right? A person sitting on that who's watching the patient, just seen, can't make any sense of the nurse or doctor has to come and understand. Now come to the latest era. I mean, today there are hospitals. You will go to a hospital, you will find a software where all that machines are replaced. There's one big LED screen. On that LED screen, you see an exact replica of the human body lying on the bed, and there are different parameters blinking. His heart is beeping with some readings, his BP is showing in some reading, the whole brain analysis is shown, and they will show some red color and green color and all that, right? With that red green color, now it has become easier. Even the person sitting on the bed who has come to see the patient can see that LED screen. He doesn't have to look at so many machines and make out, oh, the heart is normal, or maybe a BP is little higher, because the color changes, right? Now that is digital transformation. Okay, because the data, the same data, the data was there in earlier. The same data is getting processed, the same data is getting collected, but now it is used much better. And the machinery behind the scene has changed because they are using a lot better technology. The data has become much more accessible and much more usable. Now, let's take the example and come to the OPC UA. In automation world, we had a similar problem. Okay, automation world. I mean, if you look at the layers, the automation layer, we had this L0 level where or L1 layer where you had all the field instruments, small sensors which are connected to PLCs, RTUs. Then you have the HMIs, SCADAs, collecting data from them, then pushing it to the higher level. And each of this layer, you had so many protocols. You had Modbus, you had Profibus, you had Allen Bradley, serial protocol. Okay, so many protocols happening. Okay, and the problem is that whenever the layer change, the protocol change. Okay, now there was a lot of protocol conversion happening. There was data getting converted from Modbus to OPC, Allen Bradley to OPC, OPC to HMI. This was happening. And as you know, in any language, not only in OPC, any language, when there's a conversion happening, there is a loss. There's an information loss. Okay, even if you take a normal language, when you speak from Hindi to English or Tamil to English, Hindi, there'll be a data loss because there's no one-to-one correspondence. And that was happening there also. The data, when it was getting transferred in different protocols, there was a data loss. That is one. Second is, all the data was not coming up. Okay, because protocols are limited in their ability to export the data. Okay, even OPC Classic was plagued with that way. OPC Classic gave you all the data that was required, but metadata was not really focused upon. Okay, in OPC UA, when they came to OPC UA, they realized all this problem and they said, okay, let's come up with a one protocol which can solve all these problems. Okay, so in OPC UA, the beauty is that OPC UA can learn on any of this layer. It can run on L0 level, it can run on L1 layer. You have small servers. There are different flavors of servers. You can have nano profile server, you can have micro profile server, you can have standard servers based on the capacity and the power of the device that it is running on. Okay, now the first problem is solved. Every device, every layer is speaking the same language, and that means no data loss. Okay, that is first. Second is, with the information model, a concept that OPC bring in, they started bringing all this data, okay, with the metadata. The context was not lost. Okay, to just explain this again, see, imagine a boiler. You have a boiler which has some of the characteristics in the industrial world When it was converted to a OPC Classic, you will end up having 30 tags. Okay, boiler dot input dot pressure dot something. Okay, output dot pressure dot something. Now the whole boiler object can be seen in OPC UA. The object itself comes, the properties come, all the relationships come, and people realize, oh, that's a boiler object and not 30 tags, So they don't need that domain experience in the background to understand that. And that is the advantage information model capability has brought in. Okay, and because of all these things and because of all these features, OPC UA has become the most popular protocol to be adopted by all the cloud platforms. Okay, if you look at it, all the IoT platforms running in the cloud, for example, Azure, AWS, are using OPC UA as the protocol to consume the information and to process the information. Okay, so that's how you can see OPC UA enabled the digital transformation, because now from all the way from the lower level to the cloud, information is going in a same standard, common language with the metadata. Okay, so there's no information loss. I hope I cleared the answer. I mean, I've given the answer to the question.
Sure. I'm sure. I mean, definitely, it was very elaborate, and I hope it helped the listeners also. In fact, it's a good point to say, if there are questions, please do post into the chat box so that Praveen could answer at the end of it. So, just taking from that point, Praveen, about how you spoke about the various aspects of OPC, from the sensor to the cloud and the contextual and the other aspects of the data being maintained. Does it start veering into the territory of being too complicated? And I'm asking this just to kind of solicit from your response, because there are people, at least in our journey as a company, catering to the industrial community, we see two types of users who use our services. One are people who are going to adopt the OPC technology to build certain products, art to higher art, to a level or software level.
Okay.
And the other are the end users. This could be system integrators or people in the plants who do not care about the technology so much. They just look at the black box. Data should come to me. My SCADA should show me the data from my boiler. So does it get into a point where OPC gets complicated? So what my question is, if you could help answer, what are the things to be kept in mind, when somebody's evaluating OPC? Either to build a product or to use the product. So
I get. So see, the question has two answers, right? I mean, so who's the person? If the person is simply looking to consume the data, okay, it's not that difficult. I mean, anybody who has used OPC Classic, we can quickly understand how OPC UA works, because he will simply see there are a lot more data coming in, there are a lot more features coming in. Okay, so again, a person who has used a simple mobile, if he goes to a smartphone, he gets used to it and he just finds it more meaningful. There are a lot more features, right? Similarly, for the end user, it's just a lot more data, and it's better data, and he was anyways looking for this data for a long time, because the data was there in the native system. Okay, in the OPC Classic transition, it got lost, and now the data is back. So from the end customer point of view, there won't be a lot of a difficulty or the issues when they are trying to adopt it. Okay, if they are aware and if they genuinely want to move on and use the new technology. Now, from development point of view, see, rather than saying it's complicated, there's a learning curve. Okay, because OPC UA has brought in almost every aspect. They're using the best of the industry standard to secure the technology to make it better. For example, today OPC UA works on SOA based protocol or SOA standard, which is service object oriented, right? It uses certificates for security. Now, certificate, when you talk about certificate, private key, public key encryption, okay, encryption comes in. So based on the guy's need, if he's developing it, he has to read all this concept at least once to understand it. Okay, but the good side is, if you look at it, most of the industry leaders, they have come up with the SDKs. So there are OPC UA SDKs which are available in the market. Okay, I mean, some of the leading bodies are like, you have Unified Automation, have their own SDK. Maticon OPC has SDK, and Foundation also gives a stack. And they have this C++ stack, .NET stack. Okay, in fact, .NET, I mean, most of things is available in the GitHub. So you can start there, you can learn, and most of what we are talking as a concept is already implemented in the SDK. So if you start using the SDK, most of your problems are sorted out. You just have to know conceptually to make a better use of it, but you need not implement it. Okay. So the learning curve is there. You read the concept, you learn it. So when you start using the SDK, it becomes much better. But once you select on the SDK, then the life is easy. Now the next question is, how do you go about product development of OPC UA, right? So see, when you are not aware that, so you are new to OPC UA technology and you want to get an OPC UA product done, okay, then couple of things you should keep in mind is, when you're going for the product, okay, you can read a data sheet. Almost every product or SDK come with a data sheet. Okay, how the product has evolved over a period of time. Has the product actually evolved? Because OPC UA has moved, now currently it's 1.04, they started with 1.01, and it will go on. Has the product evolved with the foundation? Does it support all the features? The like security policies, endpoint, is supporting all of it. How easy for it to get the product used? Okay, are they getting compliance? Because compliance is a big thing. OPC Foundation has a compliance mechanism where they tell you back that, hey, this product is following most of the specification written as it is, and we have tested various use cases and it passes. Okay, and the least, if you can't see all this, at least are they the foundation members? Basically, OPC Foundation, one thing is OPC UA is not stopping. They started with a client server communication mechanism. Till 17 was only client server, TCP, IP, HTTPS. In 17, they introduced PubSub, and PubSub today has become the most popular. The client server has gone backseat. Almost everybody's asking for PubSub because it has a native cloud support. Right now, coming TSN, now it's coming FLC. So OPC UA is growing at a very fast pace. And buying OPC UA product, anybody who wants to buy the product wants to be part of the journey. He wants to leverage all the benefits which is coming ahead, right? So you have to choose a product or SDK or end product from a product vendor who is in that journey, who is actively part of the journey, contributing to the foundation, keeping his product upgraded, so you get the latest features in future as well. Okay.
Got it. Great. Thank you so much, Praveen. Of course, that was an elaborate discussion. And I think if I wanted to sum up the last part that you mentioned, with OPC UA, you future-proof yourself, the digital journey that you get into.
Exactly. Yeah, nicely said, man. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. So with that, of course, we of course towards the end of the time that we wanted to have for the question and answers. Now I would request the people out there, if they have questions, to please post on in the comment box, and we'll have Praveen answer a few of those for the next 5 or 6 minutes. So I have quite a few here, Praveen. Some start from basic to advanced. I'll start with the basic one. What exactly is information model? If you could answer that, in a
yeah. So see, information model. Yeah, it's when the information model concept came in OPC UA, it took us, even us, a bit of a time to understand it. Okay, now see, most of the guys who are, if you are watching, if you are coming from a programming background, we have done a C++ programming or any language programming, right? If you look at any language like C++ or Python, Java, they have their own type system. You come up with the ready-made classes, right? You have the float variable, integer variable, and you can make custom classes to make your data look more object-oriented, right? Look a lot more to real type entity. So the whole object-oriented programming was bringing the programming to real-life entities. You have library class, you have person class, you have employee class, which is representing the real-life objects. The similar concept was brought in OPC UA with the help of information model. So some time back, I was talking about, you can now represent a boiler object. You can now represent a pump object inside the OPC UA. You can create these types. OPC UA information model type system allows you to create these objects, okay, and this object can be represented. So when you look at the data of the OPC UA in using a client, you will see all these objects. The object have the properties. And the properties or the variables will get you a data. Okay, so now what they have done with the help of information model, the real life entities, okay, in the plant. When you go to a plant, you have these big machines, right? That big machines are getting replicated, and that is digital twin concept, right? The digital twin between concept became practical with the help of information model. You can create the exact replica of that machine in the digital world and show as it is and its properties, okay, which makes a lot more sense than having a flat list of tags. And that is what information model has enabled you.
Got it. Got it. Great. Great. Switching to another question from the
Mhm.
list here. Would like to know if it is easy to transfer the data from MQTT to OPC. Not sure if that's
Yeah, yeah.
clear.
Yeah, see, this question comes very often, right? Let me answer two questions here, okay? Because I think that the person who's asking a question actually is asking that. So one is, okay, people keep comparing between MQTT and OPC UA, right? So that comparison is not really correct. Okay, see, OPC UA is a framework. Okay, OPC UA is a framework or a whole architecture where a lot of things are standardized, whereas MQTT is a network level protocol. Okay, so if you look at, okay, let's understand MQTT, right? In MQTT, basically you have this JSON strings going, you have a key value pair, you can define your pair, you can define whatever you want to write it and send the data and get the data, which is very easy, right? Whereas in OPC UA, specifically in the PubSub flavor, MQTT is used. So you can actually use MQTT inside OPC to do the transfer. So what has changed? The data standardization. The value key pair that I talked about, which MQTT uses for transferring a data, in case of OPC UA, it has been standardized and given by the foundation. So the OPC UA in the client server has certain set of structures. The structures has been converted and adapted to a cloud platform or to a cloud environment, and that data, that structure can be passed over MQTT. And that is a precise reason why all the cloud platforms love OPC UA. That's the reason Azure AWS has taken OPC UA as the de facto protocol for their IoT implementation, because the data standardization, they got it. Rather than they doing it, they got it, right? They say, you give me OPC UA, all my components will understand OPC UA. So you want log processing happening, alarm happening, historian, I can do everything if the data is in OPC UA. Okay, so to answer the question, OPC UA PubSub actually uses MQTT. Okay, and even if you want to transfer the client server data to OPC UA, it is there. That is what the specification 14 talks about. In fact, our product, right, OPC UA PubSub Bridge. Just to give one product example, if you take the product example, we have Utunga has a product called OPC UA PubSub Bridge, which does the same job. It gets the data of OPC from client server formats and converts to the OPC UA PubSub, which is nothing but MQTT structure. So yeah, it's very possible. It's quite possible. It's
So a lot
quite
of
standardized actually.
interoperability possible right through OPC. No, in fact,
Exactly.
we have a couple of minutes. Just because of what you said, just wanted to like how from the machine tool world, MT Connect companion spec, on top of OPC UA, where OPC UA exposes the MT Connect data, the machine tool data. So if you can just touch upon on this last piece, extending the information model part, because I understand OPC Foundation does a lot of work on creating companion specs.
Yeah.
Then what does it mean for the end user community, the companion
Yeah.
specs?
See, again, it's very hard to answer that question. So I'll again take a simple example. Let's take an example of Android. So we had Android, the operating system, and then everybody took the Android and built its own flavor. So now Xiaomi has its own Android operating system. Samsung has its own. Everybody has extended the Android flavor to have their own operating system with their own flavors. The same thing happened with OPC information model. When the OPC information model was introduced, everybody said, man, this is good. Now I can, because see, people were not using the protocol for the same reason the data was lost. You remember? We talked about when protocol conversion happens, there's a data loss. But with the information model and with the extension of information possible in OPC UA, all these different bodies, with the OpenPLC or BACnet or the ISA95, they could create their own types. And when they created their own types, they wired the small properties and made sure that there's no data loss happening. And people are not doing a custom implementation. If somebody is trying to use ISA95 devices with OPC UA, they don't have to do their own custom implementation. They can use these companion standards. So basically, representing different industries top types using OPC UA is basically companion standard. Okay.
Super. Great. Thank you so much. I think we are just at the end of our allotted time.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Praveen, for sharing your collected wisdom over the years of couple
Thank
of
you.
decades now in the industry.
Thanks, Anand. Yeah. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. And I hope it was, a good session, a value-add session for the people listening in. If you want to listen, or if you have certain topics that you would like us to cover, we would be happy to get our experts in front of you. Please do let us know. Please write to us at contact@uthunga.com. It's contact@uthunga.com, and that'll give us, food for thought to bring in more, engaging topics in front of you. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining. And from my side, from Uthunga side, and from Praveen's also, thank you
Thank
very
you much,
much.
guys. Yeah. Thanks.
Take
Thank you,
care.
guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.